it is time for lab 6, and this is the one lab in this class where you kind of have to do the one before it. All right, this one's about rational numbers again. This time it's using classes, and so you're going to copy and paste a lot of the code that you've written already. You're just going to switch it around to, instead of using functions, to use classes. All right, so that is our goal. And yeah, so make sure you got the other lab about rational numbers completed in order to do this one and to do it quickly. All right, so yeah, to get the starter code normal way, you've got 3 files. All right, a rationals library and a testing file. Okay, and this time our rational numbers have classes. All right, it's a rational class that we're making, and that, like, the rational class allows you to make rational objects that each have their own like member variables that hold on to their numerator and their denominator. All right, so that's where our library is. So here's rationals.h. You're going to implement all of this class in the .cpp file, of course. So yeah, what does a rational number have inside of it? It has a numerator and a denominator. Those are our private member variables. Okay. And then here's a bunch of things. It's got a constructor that initializes the rational number with a numerator and a denominator. Perfect. It'll shove them there. There's your toPretty string. It's just a method, right? That gives back a string. It's const. It doesn't change anybody. It's .toPretty string on yourself. All right. And then here are some operators. To add two rational numbers together, we'll do it as a method, so that, like, you're adding yourself to somebody else. And same with multiplication. You're multiplying yourself to somebody else. And again, it's const because you're giving back a third rational number. You're not messing with your own numer and denom. Okay. And then here's something that's fun. It's not a member variable. It's just another method, but it's a private method. This is something the user doesn't get to use because we're going to call it for them when we want to. All right. So we're going to make this simplify method that's just for us to call on ourselves. All right. To simplify ourselves when we're ready for it. We're not going to let the user even know this exists. That's how we're going to do our own simplification. Okay. The user doesn't get to call it. We're going to do it for them. Okay. So that's rationals.h, and you're going to go and you're going to implement everything in .cpp. All right. So hopefully you can kind of see what's going on here. It's like to implement the constructor. You're going to set the numerator and the denominator, and this is where you should also be simplifying. Right. Once you've set, go and call simplify on yourself. And I do want to show you that real quick though, because it might not be something that you've read about recently. So to call a method, like here we are in the rational class, like we're trying to construct somebody. We're constructing ourselves right now. If you want to call simplify is a method. If you want to call a simplify method on yourself, it's a little hard. All right, it's a little weird looking. There's no concept of like who I am right now, like me.simplify. That's kind of what you want to do. The syntax for it is you just call it like a function. This is you calling simplify on yourself right now. You call it like a function, it'll hit this method and it'll call it on yourself. Does that make sense? That's what you need to do here, after you of course set stuff. So that's how you call a method on yourself. That's what I wanted to say. And yeah, this constructor doesn't return anything. You're good to go. Just follow along with these comments. It should work out. All right. So toPretty string, it's already been simplified because like you're forced to have simplified yourself in the constructor. So you've already got a simplified, nice thing. It's time for you to like use your numer and your denom. This is a const method, so there's no need to call simplify. So it's a little bit different, but you can assume it's already been called because when your rational object was constructed, somebody called simplify, right? Because they implemented it right. You did that. So yeah, just return your pretty string. It's a little bit simpler to implement it this way, I think. And then you've got your operators, of course. You've got your multiplication. Multiplication, you remember how to do. It's just like AB over CD, but you're returning a rational number now. All right, so return a brand new rational number that is the simplified version of the last one. You can return a brand new rational number like this, and you can call the constructor, and it will return a brand new, like whatever the constructor gives you back. So just like fill that in with your new numer and your new denom. Okay, so yeah, just remember that some values have changed because like your numerator is just called numer right now, and then the other guy's numerator is other.numer. Okay. So just keep that in mind. And then same's going on with plus. You're getting another rational number to add together with your own. And plus, though, on fractions is harder than multiplication. So you have to like find that common denominator. This is what it means to add two fractions, a over b plus c over d. It's this, right? The common denominator is bd, and then it becomes this as the numerator. And then you'll go off and like, this will automatically call the simplification for you when you return it this way. But there is some thought involved, right? And so, yeah, I've just made you some tests with all this in mind. You can use my test file to see how like it's all going to be used. Test.cpp, it's got assert true, and like here's a use case of all these things. I'm making a rational number with this numer and this denom, and it should shove it in there, and it should immediately simplify it so that when I ask it for its pretty string, it turns into that. All right, so that's kind of that. There's one test for you. So I've made a few already. You'll compile it, compile the test file with the library file. And when you run it, you should hopefully see passed, or keep changing it until you get passed for my tests. So here it is, multiplying these rational numbers together, and then the final simplified output should be this, okay? And then for these last two, it's trying to add them together. Adding together these two rational numbers, apparently the final, with the plus operator, right? The final simplified result as a pretty string is this, okay? So you're going to copy and paste a lot of the stuff you've already done before, just change it, tweak it in a little bit, in a slight way, because now we're using member variables instead of like parameters. It's slightly different, all right? And yeah, we have a private method now. That's very useful. So yeah, get all that working and get your own, my tests passing. Once you've done that, I want you to write your own tests again. You can copy in your other tests from the previous one if you'd like, just change them around. But I want to see 2 more tests, please. Some weird combination. Maybe you can like add and multiply into some final result fraction. That would work. Like multiply 2 fractions and then add to the result of that. That might be a good test. And so yeah, I want to see 2 more pasts output. All right, I want you to write 2 more tests, please. 2 more tests in the same style. Just get them to run. And so I want to see passed 5 times. 3 times for mine, 2 times for yours. All right, no more, no less. And that's it. That's what you're going to be turning in. All right, so you're going to be turning in your .cpp file and your testing file, so your implementation of the library and your testing file, which means you cannot mess with the header file. All right, you don't think to add things here because I'm going to be running the autograder with this original version of this file. Don't add stuff, okay? So you can implement stuff here, rationals.cpp, there's test.cpp. Oh, and by the way, in the .cpp file, that's where I put the GCD. There's no need at all for GCD to be declared in the rationals header file, because that's just something we need for simplification. It's not something the user needs. So I'm putting it here. The user doesn't get to see it here. That's like a private function in a way. All right, we've done that before. And yeah, then simplify as you would expect. It's pretty much all the same. It's just like you're called numer and denom now, okay? Those are your member variables, and you're just messing with your own member variables. There's no parameters anymore. Nothing's being given to you in a normal way, okay? So yeah, the rest of the stuff is all the same. They're still going to use GCD, get the numerator to be positive for a split second, save if it was negative or not, and then that's how you'll do your simplification. You're going to mess with your own member variables, all right? Your own numer and denom. So yeah, I think that's everything. Just like read through the files, look at the comments. Should be helpful enough. And yeah, you'll turn in those 2 files, not the header file though. So remember to not change the header file because of that. But yeah, just keep track of when the due date is. And that, my friends, is your Lab 6. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.